Good evening, everyone. This is the Nerd,
And this is the princess.
and welcome to the first episode of The Princess and the Nerd. We are a married couple who talk about movies and all sorts of other things all the time. So we said, why not start a little podcast over it?
Right? So other people can listen to me be right and you be okay.
Oh, you couldn't help yourself.
Well, you know
It's
how I
immediate
am.
when you. I know how you are. So, this is what we're gonna start with is movies because it's easier, and then we're gonna continue with movies. But you never know; we might do other things.
Yeah.
So the first movie we're gonna actually talk about today, it's in the title, is we went to see Disney Pixar's Elemental,
Yes.
and we came back with two completely different opinions on it.
We did, but one thing that we definitely agreed on was how beautiful the animation was,
Oh,
which I knew before we saw the movie. I just wanted to see it because it looks so pretty.
yeah, the animation. I'm not gonna argue there. The animation looks great. Like it's lighting was one of the things they really tried to do because I assume that would because I know with video game animation, ray tracing, which is a realistic form of animation, where the camera shoots out light rays and it bounces realistically. I'm assuming they do that with animated movies as well,
That would make sense.
because the way they did reflections in some, like the scene you'll see it in the trailers, but there's that scene with where she
Amber?
where Amber is jumping on the crystals, and each time she jumps on the crystal, it changes light colors,
Yeah.
and that scene's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's probably the most beautiful scene in the movie, in my opinion.
And then every time Amber starts to show her feelings, like she tries to hide her. She's the one that tries to hide her feelings. Whereas what's the
Wade
Wade?
is very
He's
out there.
incredibly emotional.
He is so emotional, and it's like you, but toned down a little bit.
It's like Viva Tuna. I do not like. He cries so
Okay,
much.
you don't cry, but
No,
we did agree that we're kind of similar to Wade and Ember
we yeah, we kind of are.
because I'm more spicy than you,
Mm, that's nice.
and you're way nicer than
I'm
I
way
am.
yeah, I am way nice. But so there will be spoilers. Just a warning. Like we're getting through the whole movie. If you like, it's still in theaters, but it's been in theaters for like 3 weeks. So if you haven't seen it now, you're probably not going to see it.
Unless you're like us and you just want to go see a pretty movie.
Yeah,
And there were quite a few people in the movie theater. I was surprised how many people
there weren't
were.
that many.
There were, when we bought the tickets, there was literally no other tickets sold.
Okay, okay. When you look at it that way,
Yeah, the theater wasn't packed, but I would say at least 20 people in one of the smaller theaters.
okay, yeah, I'd say there were about 15, 20 of us.
Yeah, so there were a lot more people than I expected, especially since that was the day that Mission Impossible came out.
Um,
So it looked like the theater was packed.
for what that was, yeah, I'll give you that. Especially with Mission Impossible out, I'm surprised we did get any other people in there with us. But to start from a beginning point, I want to talk over the story because you love the movie. I thought the movie
I
was
did love the movie.
I thought the movie was okay, but I had a problem with it. Like the animation is amazing. Most of the characters are okay, but the story doesn't work for me. It's
And you also had an issue with the length, which it was an hour and 41 minutes,
it
which
feels longer because of that Doug's dog day.
it was not Doug's dog day. It was Carl goes on a date.
Okay, you don't see the date.
Well,
Spoilers. The date.
I have so many more opinions about that than Elemental.
Like oh god, like we'll get on that like last after we're done talking about Elemental. We could talk about his date, quote unquote. Rest in peace, Ed Eisner. Um,
Died the day after our
he
wedding.
did die the day after our wedding.
And we literally both mentioned Carl and Ellie in our vows
Yeah,
that we wrote separately.
yeah.
So Up holds a very dear place in our heart.
but I also mentioned God, like the couples we mentioned. But so back on topic. For me, the story just doesn't mesh well, and it starts with allegory was the word. That was the correct word. I kept saying it, and I thought it was the wrong one. No, it's the correct word. It has an obvious allegory to Chinese immigrants to America, and it's story of racism. Kind of, it's kind of like what's that other Disney one? Zootopia. It's kind of like Cats Don't Dance, wherein it's allegorical to real life racism, but it tries not to be. My biggest problem with it is that okay, so when you use racism as an allegory, the people that you use in that allegory, they have to they felt downtrodden in this. They felt like they were mistreated. However,
So
it's
I think you need to explain like which people. So
so in the
in the
movie
movie
the
there
fire people are obviously Asian Americans. They don't make that they make that incredibly clear from everything from the music. What's the music was good too, from the music to the visuals. Like even though it's like a gibberish Asian language
dialect.
dialect in what's a written language? There's a single word for written language. Um, can't think of it right now. But like the writings look like a fake Asian writing. Um, but it's clear that's what they're supposed to be. Even like the dad has like a very strong accent when
Yeah.
he's, but only when he's old. When he's young, that accent isn't so strong. But when he gets old, all of a sudden it's like a really strong accent. But like in real life, obviously, like of course there's racism. I'm not gonna say there is not racism. That's dumb. But it,
I think what you're getting at is like over time there's more blending.
no, that's not where I'm getting at.
Oh,
No. Sorry, love. I'm sorry.
well, that's where I thought you were going
Oh,
because there was just so much segregation with the fire
there
people,
was, but
even years and years later.
what it is that, and I know that it like here in America it was segregated like that. That's why there's
Right.
Chinatowns on both coasts because that's where Chinese immigrants they went to those areas. That's all they were allowed to go to at the time, and those areas started slowly forming into what we see today as like small bits of China and America. Same with Little Italy. That's just what the immigrants did. Um, but and this movie does that with the fire people. The parents, the main two parents, are the first fire people in Element City, and they slowly build to there's like just this whole fire town in Element City, and when that happened, um, when how do I
So
put
they
this?
come off the ship
Yeah, they come off the
because they
ship.
come in a ship
Right.
and
They show like these paintings of how the water people first came up and build the city. So the city was originally built for the water people. And then the earth people came and had a treaty, I guess a treaty or got along with the water people because earth and water fine. And then the sky people, the cloud, they're supposed to be like wind, but they're just clouds. The cloud people come and they like that's what these paintings are showing. The cloud people come, but they don't show fire people coming at all. So the whole city was not built with fire people in mind. In fact, they say that at one point, like, oh yeah, this city wasn't built with fire people in mind. I was like, well, you literally just got there. And what I'm trying to get to, love, is that the allegory doesn't work because the fire people are legitimately dangerous.
oh okay. I
Like
remember.
when an actual immigrant comes into the U.S., they're not legitimately just dangerous. Like they are people.
So so when they come, which the wife is like 9 months pregnant,
She is
about to
very
pop.
pregnant. Yeah,
And so and they get to why they came later on in the
they do.
movie.
They do explain why.
But they're basically just trying to find a roof over their head
Yeah,
and they keep getting doors shut in their face
right.
because obviously
They are fine.
they're fire, so the other people in Element City are scared of them
because they're
because it's
afraid of two
dangerous.
things. Either they're afraid, like the tree people who they try to rent from a tree person. He's afraid of getting burned. And
Yeah.
they try to rent from a water person. He's like, I'm not going down for murder. And
Oh,
then
right.
because the water people, like, they show it like multiple times. Like, Amber gets hit by water and, like, boom, a piece of her is gone.
Yeah.
If she doesn't eat wood or something to, like, reignite her flame, it'll kill her. Like, we've seen death, and like her grandma just poof. Like when her grandma died, just poof. but
But they did find an old
that,
abandoned building,
yeah,
which they built up and
they turned into a store, turned into a home, and then they spread.
built a community
Yeah,
for the fire people there.
it's just, again, like, throughout the movie though, Amber literally touches things and they burn up. And it's like your allegory is supposed to be against the idea of racism, but she's proving the reason they're afraid of her. Like, eventually they get to a point where she, like, her and I keep want to call him Walter because Walter sounds like water. Wade,
Wade.
like, they can touch again, like, because the whole love is.
You said it so
Yeah,
nonchalantly.
I say this so nonchalantly.
Oh my
Like,
god.
eventually they touch, and it
Because
doesn't hurt.
they were bonding and getting closer and closer, and they were in love, and they were scared. Well, it was more Ember was
Amber was scared.
scared, and Wade was like, "I know we can do it. Like, let's just try." And they put their hands up,
Yeah,
and they kept getting close, and then finally they were able to touch. It was
and
so beautiful.
oh my love. But it shows, it shows like Earth people, their dirt parts aren't even affected by fire. So they don't, like, their plant parts. Sure, they have something to fear, but their Earth parts, because she blew up an Earth guy's office and all the plant life obviously burned up. But
He was
he was fine. He wasn't even bothered by
He's
it.
like, I'm leaving now. My day is over. Bye.
And it did have some good jokes. It did get some laughs out of me, but like, but that's not the part I have the most issue with the story. There's logical issues with the story, and it makes it hard for me to get over it. Like, oh my god. So I get that Wade, he's an inspector. He's a city inspector in the movie, and I get that uh he annoyed some builders, but they've been, like, the whole city's been looking for the leak. So there's a leak where it's causing water to come into places it's not supposed to be, and the city knows Firetown should not be getting water because obviously water would kill them. So that shows you that they don't want to kill off these people, but they don't know where this leak's coming from. So they find the leak, and he tells the guys, and they're mad at him because, like, he did accidentally encase some water people in cement. But they found the leak. Go fix the leak. It doesn't matter
Right.
how mad you are at them.
Fix it for the city. Don't fix it for me. Or how about, like, come on, Wade, take it to your boss and make her send someone else down.
No, she wants them to do. They take care of, like, what the. She's the boss.
Yeah, like, get someone else.
Okay, so
Phone a friend.
exactly.
Phone a friend.
Call the city. Get the mayor involved. There is no mayor. Well, at least
We
we
didn't
didn't
see a
no
mayor.
So just continuing through the story, like, it focuses. The beginning focuses on the fire. Like, they focus on Amber and her family.
It focuses on Ember. I think more Ember than even her family.
Yeah.
Because after they find this building that they build up, the mom gives birth like immediately.
Yeah, it's like almost immediately.
And like it shows Ember growing up being her dad's helper in this shop.
Right.
And he kept saying to her, just one day this will be yours.
Right.
And so she was working through the whole movie just trying to get her father's approval so she could take over the shop.
Right.
And she was working hard over and over, and Ember, no surprise, is a little spicy. And she's got a temper, and
Look,
whenever
if you worked retail, you would feel her very much. So the customers were obviously being customers.
Yeah, so the sparkler customer
Oh
They
my
had
god.
this sparkler sale, you buy one,
I
get
get
one
one free.
free. Well, the one guy was like, well, I just want the free one. So he kept, and he was a fire person, so he kept igniting a sparkler and taking his air quotes free one.
Right.
And so every time Ember would really lose her temper, she would turn this beautiful pinkish purple color and kind of explode.
So that was another thing. Have you ever heard the film term? Is it Asimov's gun? It's like a Russian guy's name. I can't remember the name exactly. Um, but it's the idea that something gets introduced, it has to get used. They introduced they show like she like there's like a purple beyond what she gets, like a really deep dark purple. She never once reaches that purple. They kind of hint like it's going to be a thing, like it's going to cause a big problem. She doesn't hit that purple, and like
Okay, so let's talk about the red dot sale
okay, so
because her dad, they have this big sale
and
every year,
yeah,
and
she's the one that's being put in charge of it.
yeah, and she's running it, and her dad always basically said, well, find a way to connect to the customer,
Right,
and that will like help you control your feelings. Well, so she was trying really hard to do that in the middle of this sale where there were tons of people. So she felt herself boiling on the inside.
right,
And so she was like, okay, 1 second, I'll be back in a minute. So she goes down, it's like in their basement,
right.
and she lets it all go. Well, that's when all the water started to come in.
I'm going to say something about that, but go on.
Well, and that's kind of where like Wade comes into the picture because now from the pipes, the basement is flooded. So she's trying to stand on all these boxes to,
Not die.
not die. And Wade pops up, and, that's how, oh, I'm an inspector. I have to write
Right,
you up. And, when she was trying to get him to help her, she kept sticking her foot in her
yeah.
mouth, which kept making it worse
But he's crying through the whole thing because he doesn't want to do it.
because he's so emotional and he's like, oh, you're doing this for your dad, and like goes down this whole thing. But Wade is going to do his job.
Right, because
So
like he
Amber
says,
starts chasing.
like there was. I felt like there's another problem I have with Wade. Like there's one. They felt like they wanted to do more with Wade, and they didn't. Like they kept bringing up that he was a disappointment to his dad. They never tell you what he did or why there was a gap between him and his dad.
Yeah.
I really wish they did, but they don't fill that in. And like it make it sound like he's someone who goes through job because he keeps losing his job. They never go through that. In fact, it never feels like at one point he's gonna lose his job. Even though, and we'll get to this about the cloud lady who I feel belongs to don't, because I know you're laughing because of what I said in the car.
I won't say it.
We might bring it up, we might not. Anyway, so his boss is a cloud lady, and she kind of like she gives him a time limit. Like I said before, she gives him time limit to fix the leak, and it's not a leak. It is like a giant hole in a dam. They keep calling it a leak. That is not a leak. Anyway, um, but okay, that was another issue I have, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So she chases him down through the city. She's trying to get into the city to stop him from entering all those citations because there was like 30 citations. And she finally catches up to him. She does this trick where she becomes a giant wall of fire using. Well, I thought that was cool. Um, I actually liked. That's one of the things I did like about the movie is that they use themselves in like pretty
It
neat
was
ways.
very creative.
Like the fire people, they just make glass. Like she makes glass
Oh
when
my
glass
gosh.
breaks. She
It's
just
so beautiful.
form glass like that. That's really well animated too. It really looks like the molten glass forming. It actually looks really cool. And apparently she's like the only one with that talent though.
Yeah, and okay, so one of the things that I really related to in the movie
Hmm.
was
We,
throughout them.
we should probably wait till we get to that point.
Okay, well, you like said the whole spectrum at one point, so
I know. Sometimes I do that, but I feel like
okay, I'll wait.
you wait. I love you.
I love you too.
So that's when we get to the part with the Earth guy with all the plant. Should we talk about Claude just real quick? Just to get this out of the way real quick,
Okay.
because that Disney there's an ad online that Disney created that made it seem like people were going crazy over Claude.
Which, okay, he is adorable, but he has what, maybe 10 minutes of screen time,
Like
and that's being so generous.
he's only in the movie in 3 scenes. He shows up in the beginning because he has the crush on Amber. To people who keep going, oh, that's disgusting. Why would you put that in there? I have 2 children. Children get crushes on adults. It happens. It, it's not like she returned the feelings.
And Claude was just such a little ladies' man
Yeah.
that, like, later on, like, when he had moved on from Ember,
Yeah.
he was doing the same thing with another girl.
Yeah,
Like,
but at least the girl was his age.
it was.
She was going for it.
Yeah.
But I just want to get that out of the way. He's not in the movie enough to even talk about him for real.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's the only time he's in the movie. He hits on Amber twice, and then he finds somebody else to
Yeah.
spin
But
his
he
teeth.
was still adorable.
But yeah, so she runs into the Earth. They run to the Earth guy's office. It's like covered in plant life. I guess that's his hair. That all of it's supposed to be his hair. I don't know if you noticed that.
It is.
Yeah, that was
The
all.
whole entire office.
It was all attached to him.
Oh. Then Ember did him a big favor because it would be a pain to carry all that around.
Yeah.
Because you know how I know?
Because you hate having long hair.
No, because when we got married, I had that long veil.
You had the veil.
And oh my gosh, like the dress, no problem. But that veil, every time I turned around, I'm like, oh my gosh, my head's going to be pulled off.
Anyway, so yeah, that's when they're trying to plead her case that hey, like don't send that in, and then she loses her temper because and that was another thing I had an issue with. I get that she easily loses her temper, but it's one of those moments of tell the truth.
But Wade brought up a good point that you this happened so easily because how did he say it? Like there was something that you're avoiding,
Yeah,
or you're lying to yourself
yeah,
about something.
because
So
he's gonna and he's he's telling this the Earth guy because I don't remember that dude's name. They do give him a name, but I don't remember it.
they do. I don't remember, and I don't even know if I will recognize it.
Oh, you're looking at the IMDb.
I am. Maybe Harold. Was it Harold?
It's probably Harold. I don't remember anybody else in the movie named Harold.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think that was Wade's uncle,
oh yeah, you're right.
who I really liked. Oh, it was Fern.
Fern. That makes sense because Earth pun.
Yeah.
But they're Wade's trying to explain to Fern, hey, this is all the issues she's having, so we shouldn't submit that citation.
Well, because as soon as Ember told Wade, like, because when he gets inside the city building, she basically like breaks down outside,
Right.
collapses to her knee, and then when he comes back out, she tells him like, "Oh, I just don't want to disappoint my dad," and
Right.
he was basically like, why didn't you say that in the first place? Because
Yeah.
he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, he would say he would have torn it up if she said all that. So he tries to
He was
explain to
trying
her,
to help
right?
get it.
But she's so like I guess like you said, like she's hiding something. But to me, it feels like okay, but you want to save his shot. What's more important? Telling one person everything that's going on that might save the shop then and there, or keeping it a secret from somebody who probably won't say anything afterwards. Like Fern is not a talkative person, but she lost her temper and
Yeah, but the stress in that situation Like you're thinking logically.
Yes, I am.
If you're in a high stress situation where, and the other thing that we didn't mention is her dad is sick.
Yeah,
So literally running the shop is killing him.
because he's old, essentially.
Because yeah, he's older and unfortunately like that job was hard labor.
Right.
And so that we all know those types of jobs just take a toll. So it's not even just disappointing her dad, like
It's to keep him alive.
it's to keep him alive.
And so, okay, so now they Fern submitted the citations to the Cloud Lady, who Gail, that was her name.
Gail.
Stop looking at me like that.
You loved Gail.
I did like Gail,
I know you did.
but
That's okay. She was funny. I
was.
enjoyed Gail too.
But she also reminded me of a Wario villain. I keep meaning to look that up. Like she looks, like her design looks like something from one of the Wario Land games, and I can't put my finger on it. So at some point I'm gonna look that up to see why she reminds me of a Wario villain. Anyway, so she's at, oh god, I didn't like that joke. So she's at a game, like their sports game.
It's like basketball. I forget what it was called. Was it Cloud Ball?
It was Cloud Ball.
Yeah.
If you played Final Fantasy X, it's Blitzball. It is exactly Blitzball. But
It kind of reminded me of Quidditch at first, just because when they were passing the balls around.
yeah. Oh no, Blitzball and Quidditch are almost the same thing. Except Blitzball, they're in a giant. It's essentially water. They can swim through it, but they can breathe in it. And so it's like Cloud Ball. They just float through everything and throwing the ball towards each other and tackling each other. Anyway,
And Gail is like a diehard Cloud Ball fan.
oh, their name. I don't like. I get it. It's the Windbreakers. Their sports team name is the Windbreakers, and they're.
It was like the championship game too.
Uh,
It was a very big game. So like Wade.
If one more person yelled "toot toot," I would have gotten angry. OBS disconnected. Hold on. Let's see if it reconnects. It reconnected. But
So how Ember got there was um, Wade had mentioned that his boss was at the game,
right.
and she's trying to save her dad's shop, so trying to get in contact with her as soon as she could. And Wade just happened to mention that he had tickets
Yeah.
to the game, and she was like, "Okay, coming with you."
So they go to the game and you get the toot toot puns everywhere. I get it. Their team's named the Windbreakers. Okay, fart and
Toot toot, Zootopia.
little toot toot.
Yeah, that was what they called it.
I know. But so they go over to.
They're right behind. Their seats are right behind Gail, and of course, Ember, being her impulsive self, like starts to try to talk to, stands right in front of her.
They pretty much start arguing.
Yeah,
with each other. I think they called each other racial slurs in their language.
What, Fireball
and Cloud Puff.
Yeah.
It's like
And at this point, the Windbreakers were not doing very good.
No, their best player, his mom was in the hospital, and everybody was booing him, so it was making them feel bad. And then Wade
is just the type that can inspire you.
And so that's what he does. He inspires the player by telling the player, "We actually do like
yeah,
you.
we love Lutz."
Yeah, and so they boost. He gets the whole crowd, the stadium, to instead of booing this
wave,
guy. Yeah,
the wave was
okay.
Really
that
cool.
was really well animated because they did a literal wave, and so that they boosted the guy. But that made Amber realize that he can connect to people.
Yep,
and
which
she
is what she struggles with.
Right. So she sees that and she kind of wants that. But in doing that, she also sees why the game is fun, and she gets excited for the game. You see her actually get excited for the game.
Yeah, and she's never been out of the fire area. So, while trying to save her dad's shop, she's also experiencing this brand new world that she's never been a part of.
Right. So the game ends. They go outside, and Gail tells them, "Well, we've been like there should be no water in your area."
Yeah.
It's like these citations. I'll admit these citations wouldn't have happened if this leak didn't happen. So I'll give you guys 4 days. Was it 4 or 5?
Oh no.
I think
A few days. They had a few days to try to figure it out and get it fixed.
right.
And then, she'll let them go.
So Wade then tells. So what does she do? Not Gail, but what is her name? Amber. She creates a hot air balloon for them to
Yeah.
float over Firetown to find this leak. Where's this water coming from? And Wade says they find it, but she asks Wade like, how did he get into the shop in the first place? He explains that he was looking for the leak. He found air traces of water where it shouldn't be, and all of a sudden he gets like the water comes rushing in, which I also have a problem with. Like nobody's noticing this. Nobody's noticing this and reporting this to anyone. Like, oh hey, there's a giant thing of water. But we'll get to that at the end. I'll hold my
Okay.
tongue to the end. So Wade goes, okay, there's all this water coming in, and it sucks him in, like it pulls him in. The water people can't take unlimited amounts of water into themselves. There's a point, but it pulls them in. It pulls them down a drain, and the drain is clogged with just dirt. Which I guess I'm going to get into that in a second, but and it was Amber's outburst that unclogged that dirt and let the water come in.
So Ember saved Wade.
Amber saved Wade, yes, faster than normal. Is what it was. Like knowing how water works, and they do realistic water physics in this for the most part. Um, Eventually that water would have been enough to push on through, and that basement would have flooded regardless. That's why I thought in the end when she says it was my fault for the flood, like no, it wasn't. That would have happened regardless of you having your outburst. Yeah, you made it happen faster, but it was going to happen. That
Yeah.
was inevitable. That's like you just took blame for something that wasn't your fault. I still blame the city because they could have fixed it. Anyway, we're getting to that point. So what happened? Oh, right. They find the hole in the wall. What it is that as the ships are coming through, it's a normal shipyard. Um, is that area of because real shipyards have the
Yeah.
area where the water flows
Yeah.
into it,
The
like the overflow
overflow.
of water comes down to those ravines, and the dam of that
There's a
ravine.
big hole in the
There's a
dam.
giant hole. That's not a leak. That is a giant ass hole, and they use sandbags to clog it up. So they go, okay, we'll call Gail in the morning. She'll get those. Like we saw
We'll
the.
get the construction people out and it'll be fixed. No problem.
So the next day comes. Her dad's a little. Her dad blames like her dad saw like because she gets back to the stop. She,
Well, okay, let's backtrack a little bit on the dad's issue. So the dad had a lot of issues with the water people.
yeah,
He hates the water people. So when he sees Ember with this water person, he assumes that that's why
right.
the flooding happened.
So he blames Wade for the flooding, and she doesn't argue with him. She just like, yeah, it was his fault. She at first she just said kind of agrees with that, because the flooding is still happening, and he's getting mad because like, where's this water coming from? It's like I'm glad you chased him down. Too bad he got away, but they blamed him for the water essentially.
Yeah.
So then it was next day comes, and oh god, I can't remember exactly what happened.
Uh, trying no. Okay. So that has to be about the point where Wade spills the bad news like, hey, the construction people won't
Yeah,
help.
that is. That's because they won't help because because he had to sneak into her house to do that
Yeah.
in jars of water. Um, and they pretty much she pretty much go yeah because they were mad at me one time.
Yeah, so they're not going to help. So then Ember gets the idea, okay, well, then we just need to get more sandbags. So that's when they go to the beach
Yeah.
and they're,
Oh wait, we skipped one part. They have to get out of the house.
oh, well,
So dad catches
oh, yeah.
dad catches them in there. Um,
And this is definitely in one of the trailers because I remember. seeing this part.
And they try to lie out of it, say because he sees on his shirt he's an
Inspector.
inspector. He's
And
like, no,
Wade keeps trying to hide it, but because he's
he's
water,
water.
it magnifies the word inspector.
Which is funny to just look at, but then if you think about it, it's like, you know you're water. You know that's going to happen, but he's supposed to be awkward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
mm, um, oh, you didn't see it. She gave me this look.
Yeah, because it's like my little nerd.
Mm. So and then it's that scene in the trailer where he's eating the hot food.
Because he tells them that he's a food inspector. So the dad's like, okay, well, if you're here to try food.
So he tries the little fire nuts and it does that bubble thing, and then he tries the big fire. Like for some reason, he took 3 of them.
Yeah, he ate quite a few.
But he even said like the food's good once the spice passes. Like once the heat passes, the food's actually really good.
Yeah.
And then he cools it down. I guess that offended him. That offended the dad that he did that, and so he got banned from the shop. But then they go to the beach to try to make, because her Amber's idea is just make more sandbags because the water comes back.
Yeah.
Because the sandbags give out. But you know that's when they have their moment on the beach.
So they're trying to like make more sandbags, and then they realize that it's hopeless. Like they can't do that. So Aunt Amber is like on her knees on the sand, and Wade realized like, oh, like look at the sand around you.
Right.
And it basically just makes tempered glass.
Right.
So she had taken some of
but she took the sand from the sandbags that were already there, plus the sand they carried, and made a tempered glass wall.
You skipped over the one part where she made the ball.
Oh yeah, she does. She makes
She makes beautiful art with glass, and there's one point in the movie where she tells Wade about how she wanted to go to the one what would you call it, like garden that they have where there's this very rare flower.
Yeah.
And that was her dream, to go visit this garden, and her dad was going to take her, but they weren't allowed in because they were fire. And then a few years later that place flooded, so she was like, I'm never going to get to see that flower. So when she's making this glass ball,
she makes the flower.
She makes a flower, and it looks just like this flower.
Yeah, so she makes essentially a glass sphere with the flower in the middle. It looks like beautiful art, and Wade thought that it looked amazing, so he keeps it in his pocket. He doesn't tell her that at first. So,
but that's where they got the idea. Like, hey, we've got all this sand by this hole. Like, let's just make a glass wall.
And that's what she does. Like it looks gorgeous again because the animation in this movie is good. So they make the glass wall. They call Gail. Gail goes, "Oh, it's tempered glass. This works." Again, you are the city inspector, lady. You should have gone, instead of saying this works as like a permanent solution, you should say this works
for now.
For now, but we're gonna get on it and start actually repairing this, because as the rest of the movie goes and they're getting closer, and like the rest of the movie, and I do like this part of the movie.
Wait, we need to talk about Ember's mom real quick.
All right,
because she's got this special little talent
to smell love.
To smell love, and you know, like I forget if it was her mom or his mom's dying wish was for Ember to find love.
It was her mom.
Yeah, so there's a few references towards that throughout the movie, and Ember's just like, whatever. Like, she doesn't care about love.
Right.
So her and Wade just continue spending more time together, and you can tell that they're getting closer. And so the one night when she went to go see Wade, Ember's mom was like, "Ooh, I smell it. I smell it." She could smell the love. So she was following Ember into the city.
Right.
Because she was curious, like, oh, who is this love? and Wade was blocked from view from her mom being able to see. And then Ember's allowed into his building because, like, she's his guest.
Right.
Well, his building's got a bodyguard.
Right.
And Ember's mom kept trying to get in, and he would not let her pass.
No. In fact, I kind of want to see their fight. I hope they do. You know, like when with the Incredibles, they did that thing where they showed they made a little short of what happened with the babysitter and Jack Jack. I hope
Yeah,
they do
that
something.
would be super cute. But this is one of my favorite parts. I loved Wade's family. So like, when they go up to his apartment, like he's like, "Oh yeah, come in, meet the family," and opens up the door, and it's a big pool of water.
Right. So she can't really get it. So he makes her a boat.
He makes her a boat, and Wade's mom was amazing. I loved her, and not to mention that it is the one and only Catherine O'Hara,
It's Catherine O'Hara.
aka Sally.
Wait,
You
Sally?
didn't know that
Yeah.
Oh,
Look, I don't know famous people that well.
but Jack and Sally.
I don't know the voice actors. Don't give me that face. Just give me like a grumpus face. I didn't do nothing.
So when I was talking about her the other day, did you have no idea who that was?
I had no idea who that was.
Kevin's mom, Home Alone.
That's
Yes. Lydia's mom in Beetlejuice.
okay. That I knew they were the same people. I didn't know that's who played Sally. How'd she do her voice like that?
She is a very talented actress.
Yeah, she has a range.
I made you watch a few episodes of Schitt's Creek with me.
I didn't know, sir.
She's the mom at Schitt's Creek.
Oh, she's just the mom there too.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so they introduce his family, his uncle, his brother. His brother has 2 kids and a wife, and honestly, they just accept her.
Yeah, they have no problem with the fact that she's fire, and
in fact, that's another thing about the movie is that they kind of drop the whole racism thing. Part of it.
I think it depends because throughout the movie, people were still looking at Ember like, "Oh, like why are you around?" But I think it's kind of like real life. Like there are a whole spectrum levels of racism. So, but the mom was like so open and talking about how like she's never seen Wade happier, like that there's a new spark in his life. And then they sit down to dinner.
Right.
And
during dinner,
who broke the vase?
None of the kids.
Yeah, somebody broke this vase, and Ember's like, "Oh, I can fix it." So she takes all the glass and then uses her fire to melt it, and then she shapes it into this gorgeous vase.
Yeah.
And Wade's mom was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so talented."
Right.
And before that, isn't that when he showed the flower sphere?
Yeah, he showed them the flower sphere, and she's like, "Yeah, of course I kept it. It's special."
Yeah.
And then his mom was like, "Yeah, our buildings are all made out of glass. If you wanted to be a glassmaker, you probably could pull this off."
Yeah, and she knew of an internship.
Yeah.
So that just started to like open Ember's eyes like, "Oh, I thought my only path was taking over the shop. Like this is something that I enjoy."
Right.
And then because the water people are so emotional.
Yeah, because they cry a lot. They don't say this all water people. It's just his family.
His family. So they have this game like where 2 people would like stand in front of each other, and the game was who can make the other one cry first.
Like I would lose that game if they ever mentioned Pirate the Rabbit. Like
you would lose that game to me.
No, like okay, not to you, but if you want to make so the whole point of this game they play is you have to make the other person cry, And so they named some basic stuff, like some stuff that probably wouldn't immediately make you cry.
Yeah, but then it was Wade versus Ember, and Ember's like, I've never cried.
Right.
Like, there's no way I'm losing. And so Wade just starts like naming some stuff in the beginning that he thinks is sad, and she's like, whatever. Um, and then what does he start talking
He starts talking about how much she means to him.
about?
Like
Oh,
he is
yeah,
head over heels for her, in love with her. And he is explaining in the detail, and it made her, and it just amazingly 2D animated scene of like Amber seeing the same thing, but she then gets to the part of the scene where they touch and they can't do it, and she starts crying because they can't do it, and that's what makes her want to leave. Like she
yeah,
leaves because of the thought of that, and his mom say, hold on, let's think about the internship. Just think about it. You don't
yeah.
have to do it." And then Wade gives her the. Did he give it her back that? Did he give that back to her then or another point?
No, I think it. No, it wasn't then.
Okay.
It wasn't then. So then, like meanwhile, the mom had like kind of backed off from the security guy,
Right.
and Wade saw Ember out, and once again they were kind of blocking Wade from the mom's view.
Yeah.
But then finally, like the mom was able to see, and she's like, "Water."
Yeah, because she catches up to him. Because she drives off on her moped. And he's on the back of it. She at first couldn't catch up to him because she's not on the speed moped. Anyway, yeah, she catches up to him at the shop, and she
Yeah,
realizes, oh, he's a water guy. When she goes, okay, they're not in love. Excuse me. There's no way they could be in love. So she does her little love test where she makes him light an incense. And she goes, oh, he can't light the incense. So he gets this good idea and uses his body as a magnifying glass and uses Amber's light to light the incense. And it does a little swirl thing into the ceiling. It's like, can you, nigga, ask, did you smell? But the dad walks in. So
yeah.
they have to hide way. They get him out the door, crushes his hand. And, he leaves for the night. They lie to the dad about who they're seeing, but the mom can easily tell like that. That was love.
Yeah.
Like
And
she,
wasn't that the point where the dad was like, I'm retiring?
yeah. He announces to him, "I'm retiring." He shows a sign to her, and she
Because
said,
it was going to be Ember's house
"Yeah, it's like the
instead of Firehouse.
yeah, it's Ember's house. Like the shop belongs to her, but she's now come to the realization she doesn't want the shop."
Yeah.
Yeah, we skip that part where on the motor pad they stop at one point and say, "I don't want the shop." She finally realized that she does not want the shop. There's another problem I have with it, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Okay. I feel like this is where I can start talking about the one thing that like I can relate to in the movie.
Yeah, okay.
So like throughout the movie, like she's going down this path that she thinks is the path that she needs to go down. And I know I've been through that before because, a certain point in my life, I thought I was going to a certain career because it was the best thing for me. But really, it just would have been a stable option and not something that
You wanted to do.
I wanted to do.
Right.
So I understand like having that pressure of, well, this is the right thing to do, but ultimately to be happy you have to find something that you enjoy doing and that you're passionate about.
Right.
And like now I'm lucky enough to have that.
Right.
So like I understand that and I could really relate to that. But it's not easy to take that other path when there are people around you that are expecting you to go that way.
No, no, you're right. It's not. Oh wait, Christopher apparently said it was really quiet and laggy. Uh, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Oh, of course, YouTube. They suck, YouTube. Oh, did it stop on Facebook altogether? No, it didn't because it still let me change things. So sorry, I'm checking on like making sure the it's still streaming. I forgot one thing I forgot to do is plug in the wired network. It's on
Oh
the
yeah.
wireless, and that's not the most stable for streaming.
No, we'll get better.
Yeah,
Just episode one.
that's true. So continuing on, they meet the next night.
Well, is that when they touch?
That is the night. This is the night they touch,
Yeah.
but it's not immediate. She meets him to try to break things off.
Yeah.
Because she feels like, okay, all this stuff I wanted, everything that made me feel like I matter, like I gotta give it up. I my
Because I need to do it for my dad
right,
because his health is more important to me.
right. So, um, oh, we skipped an important part, where the dad explains like why they came to
Oh,
Element City.
the part that you really didn't like.
So yeah, oh boy. So what had happened? There was a bad storm in the fire land that they came from. I think they really did call it Fireland, and that bad storm. They said it caused a lot of damage, but they were the only two that left. Like literally, only those two left, and he asked his dad for his respects with his bow, and the dad would not give his blessing. Essentially, the dad pretty much said, "If you leave, I'm disowning you," and he left.
Yeah.
So his own dad disowned him. Anyway, going back to where we were, they meet that night, and she's trying to break up. When he said, "Hold on, hold on," he goes, "Wait, Amber, I want to show you something." So Wade takes Amber to that museum that flooded,
Oh
and
yeah.
Gail, using her wind powers, creates her a bubble into the flooded area so she can finally see the flower. Says you got 20 minutes. I guess they spent the 20 minutes in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, they give her the air bubble. He takes her. It's a very beautifully animated scene.
Yeah, because it's not just one flower. Like the place had a ton of these flowers.
It's one tree, but the tree has like the flowers all over it, and the flowers literally light up even through the water.
Yeah, well, I think it was through Ember,
It
which is
was.
how they were lighting up. But the tree almost reminded me of like a weeping willow.
It did look like a weeping willow.
Yeah, but it was beautiful and like they spent a little bit too much time down there
Right.
because
Her bubble
her
starting to lose.
bubble was starting to get very small, so Wade was trying to get her out like as quick as possible
Right.
because he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm about to kill this girl that I love that I haven't like really admitted yet." So he gets her out and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And she was so thankful for that moment because that was her dream,
right.
just to see that beautiful flower.
And that's when they touch.
Oh yeah.
Because they realize they do care for each other, but it doesn't hurt each other. Because my best guess, and I'm giving the movie this, I'm giving it because the movie doesn't actually, outside of The Power of Love, by Huey Lewis in the News.
Love.
Okay, it doesn't actually play The Power of Love by Huey Lewis in the News, but they were able to touch, even though throughout the whole movie it shows that normally can't happen, and not just say it, it shows it. They've tried touching before, and immediately Wade boils, but this time it doesn't happen. So,
Oh, and he was still boiling a little bit. You
but
could
it was,
still like see him
but it was
bubbling.
like small in
Yeah,
comparison to
like
it.
a simmer.
Yeah.
He was simmering.
So my best guess is they found a way to balance themselves in order to touch each other, which the movie never explains if that's a thing that everybody starts doing with the fire people or not. It doesn't go into detail on that. Anyway, uh, but she has to break it off because she fully tells them it can't happen,
Yeah,
and so they have that big conversation. He straight up says, "I love you,"
yeah,
and she tells him, "I can't love you," and then she leaves to accept because it's the ceremony. She gets to accept the store, and they're having like this big party, and the fire community's there as she's about to accept the store from her dad. But then Wade
Wade
shows,
walks in.
yeah. It still says like I still love you no matter what. Like he
Yeah.
starts naming these issues with himself, but like he starts naming every reason why they can't work. But like he said, no matter what it is, like that one thing that always is gonna make it work is that I love you and I know you love me too. And even the mom goes,
And the dad is like experiencing all this for the very first time, and
right,
like,
that does not go well with him, and it does one of the things I hate the most, the liar reveal trope. I hate the liar reveal trope.
yeah,
Can't stand it, but it does it, and the dad's upset. The mom,
is not upset because then she reveals they
they
are in love.
like they
Like,
match, like
I
yeah,
did my test
like
and
the
it's
instant,
not wrong.
it's they just really love, and then the dam breaks.
Yeah, the dam breaks, and at that point, like, the dad was like, "Never mind, I'm not retiring. You're not ready for my store."
Right. So then now the water came flooding in, and oh, we forgot to mention the blue flame that came from their
From the
homeland.
old country.
Yeah. So there's a blue flame, and it's important to them for cultural reasons. Like it's not really important to the movie, but it's important to them for
Yeah.
cultural reasons. Anyway, so as the flood goes through, Wade comes back to save Amber from the flood. The scene that made my love sad was when
Oh.
it looks like
So
Wade.
wait, we're skipping a lot. So
But
basically, like,
we're almost gone for like an
okay,
hour.
I'll do the quick version. The parents get to higher ground, but Ember is still trying to save the shop. So she's inside,
But she's
and
just trying to save the flame, not the
well,
shop.
well, yeah, but the flame is in the shop. So she's trying to do everything she can to save that. Wade gets in because he's water and he can get in.
Right.
And when she realizes the glass breaks where she's trying to save that flame, um, they finally go into this one section of the building, and she's devastated because she sees that the blue flame is gone. Well, then Wade brings in a little lantern where he was able to save the one. But they had barricaded themselves in this room, and
The room's an oven. It is an oven. That's what it
okay,
is.
well, it's an oven, and because Ember's in there, and um,
The blue flame is in there too.
yeah, so it's too hot in there, and Wade starts to evaporate, and I cried.
And I mean, there was a way out at first through the chimney, but the chimney collapses in, and they're
Yeah,
stuck in there.
so they couldn't get in, and it. I was devastated.
Yeah,
I was
Wade
crying.
evaporates. He does.
I'm like,
And
no.
the water passes through. They free Amber, and she is heartbroken because it looks like Wade's dead.
Yeah,
But
and she's talking about like how sad she is, and then you start to hear Wade crying, and like slowly, like his like evaporated self through tears
pretty much
came
he
back.
cries himself back to life.
Yeah, basically.
But then because he saved the blue frame, that it's assumed that the dad likes him now. They never actually say it.
The dad said he was no longer banned, and that really made Wade cry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at that point, that's when Ember finally reveals to her dad, like, I don't want to take over the shop. I want to pursue my art.
And he goes like,
I
"Good."
just want you to be happy.
Like yeah, like I guess it was a whole misunderstanding how he when he, the dad like throughout the movie the dad says that's the dream. When he said that's the dream, it was his daughter's happiness. But as far as she could tell, it was the
Shop.
shop. Again, I'm gonna bring up my problem with that, and that has more to do with the trope than it does the
Yeah.
movie. Um, but just like the bringing the story to the end, like we
He
get
gets someone else to take over the shop. These people that just sit in the shop all day long,
talking shit,
yeah, are now running it, and now Ember's parents get to be the people sitting in the shop
talking
talking
shit.
shit. And Ember um, goes and travels with Wade, and then she starts her internship
Right.
and that's basic. Well, and
And then they do
then
the bow thing to
they
each other, so that,
she does the bow, and then he does it back, which we both called that when they brought it up in the
yeah.
movie.
Chekhov's gun. That's what it's called. At least they brought the bow back. They didn't. Excuse me. For some reason, they didn't bring the giant for the dark purple. I don't know what's the point of mentioning that. Anyway, so the movie ends there of them taking off to wherever this place is that the internship is.
Yeah,
Okay, so like I said, my problem with the movie is not the romance of it. If this was just a romance, I think it would have worked a lot better. A romance that focused on the art of what they're doing. This feels like it was a Pixar short that got stretched out because it is a gorgeous movie with the I star-crossed idealistic romance that works. The romance part of it works. I was actually enjoying the movie when it was on, but then it left and focused on Amber's life, and that's when it like they don't mesh well, I should say. So
that's life.
I mean, I know that's why, but I'm saying
That's life.
for the story, the sake of this story of this one movie, to me it just doesn't mesh that well. It just doesn't come together in a way that makes me not question it.
Well, I enjoyed it more because I found it relatable.
Yeah, see, that's what you enjoyed the most about it.
But I do also get emotionally connected deeply to movies. So
Like, because I watched it with this sense of logic. Like, I feel that a movie can set up a
the person that is not logical at all is watching the movie with logic.
mm. um. So the way I see it when it comes to stories, any story, whether it be movie, no matter the medium, is that a story sets up its own sense of logic. But this movie had a tendency of trying to set up its own sense of logic, but it broke it because it also tried to adhere to tropes, movie tropes, to fill out the story. Like the whole, like I said, I hate the liar revealed, and he goes like, "You fell in love with a water person, which you were supposed to do, and you're the one who destroyed the basement when you got angry." I'm like, technically, no, the basement would have flooded regardless. Like he was only stuck by a couple of pebbles and some dirt. That would have like enough water would have flown through and knocked that through. Like that would have happened no matter what. The citations would have happened no matter what. That was going to happen. Like her getting angry about it or not, just I felt like I said, like there's just more moments like that throughout the movie where I go the construction workers bothered me. That one's good. That one always bothered me, and it had an effect on how I saw the movie. And I just felt like if we can cut all that out, or the majority of it out, and just have it focus even more on Wade and Amber coming together and their relationship, and the fact that they are water and fire, and that be the only thing keeping them from being together, I would have been more fine with the movie.
I would have liked more romance, but I didn't not like the stuff that was in the movie, which is why our ratings are very different.
Yeah, so for me, out of five, I give it a three, like a solid three, but a three. Like I said, its animation is gorgeous. The music is beautiful. It has these this. I'm not good at explaining music. Very Asian sounding pop, but not too poppy, not too Disney pop. But it's just this gorgeous music, beautiful animations, and like I said, when it's focused on the romance part of the story, I like it. I wish there was more of that, but like there's too much like leaping in logic, their own story's logic, in order to like fill it out. So they just kind of undid it for me.
I give it a 4.2 out of 5. Because I love, like you, I love the animation. It was such a beautiful movie. It gave me the same feels that I got when I watched Coco for the first time because that has beautiful colors, another beautifully animated movie. Um, I found it very relatable. Not only like Ember's story,
Hmm.
but I related us to Ember and Wade a lot because we were awkward.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a little bit spicier than you are. You're too nice. And so I really enjoyed it. I've already said I can't wait for it to come out so I can watch it again.
And I already said that I can't watch another time because I'm just gonna find more problems with it. Uh,
That's okay. We'll watch a different movie that you love. Let's watch Encanto.
I do not love Encanto. So that's you. Let's watch The Great Mouse Detective. By the
We're
way,
gonna do an Encanto review. He doesn't know it yet.
she's the Disney person. By the way, I'm the Nintendo person, but my media tastes are in everything.
Uh, Disney, Disney.
Team Nintendo. Anyway, that's why we're the Princess and the Nerd. See, now it makes
Yeah.
sense. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today's episode. We're gonna go ahead and wish you all a good night.
And have a magical weekend.
Good night, everybody.